Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Path of Exile 2 talk. Today though, it's a pretty important topic. It's the leveling grind. Naturally, you want to level and get skill points fast in the endgame. It's going to provide a ton of power and value, but it becomes a massive grind. By the time that you hit endgame and say reach 70, it begins to significantly slow down, and then it only slows down more and more as you go. Thankfully, there's a lot of tricks you can do to increase your raw XP gains, and in general the XP per map that you run for the value of that. So I'll be running down the list of things I do to maximize, which ideally you stack together to achieve the biggest XP gains possible. I'm going to bounce around a bunch of topics and add value to each of them. We'll start with the concept of juicing because it is obviously very important, but I do think a lot of people will know about this, so I'm going to try to be quick. Very simple. If you want to do a map, you need to make a plan. This is a great map because, hey, it's one with a boss, so it's going to have great value on it. So I want to make sure this has the highest value possible, so I need to juice a waystone that I'm going to put into that. If you want the biggest value from the map, as well as potential XP gains, you want it to be as difficult and as high level as possible. So right now I have some tier 14 waystones, and I could put that in to make this a significantly harder map. As you can see, the monster level will be 78. Let's say put in a tier 10 instead of a tier 14, just to show you that comparison, and you'll see that the monster level will be 74. So the higher level, the more value you're going to get from that. The more you over level something, the less XP you get, of course. So naturally, having a higher tier waystone is very important, but juicing that waystone to increase the potential of the value of that map goes a long way. As you can see, you can literally increase the amount of XP you gain for clearing or during that map, but key things you're going to look for are actually affixes like this: increased magic pack size, increased pack size in general. Combine the two and you get some seriously dense groups to clear. You can also get increased number of rare monsters as well, and you can get these interesting modifiers that just give you extra packs of specific types of monster. That's not amazing, right? But more mobs is more XP, and the denser it is, the faster it is to clear. What would suck for this kind of thing? Like, say we have increased number of packs here, magic monsters, rare monsters. This is pretty incredible. All we're really missing on this one is increased XP. We don't care if the monsters are hitting harder, but we do care if the monsters are getting resistances, like elemental resistances for this. Most of my damage is fire, so that's going to suck. But another one that could be annoying, as another example, is monsters are armored. You don't really have much control over this. You generally just try to aim for the ones that are going to give you the most value. So literal raw increased XP, pack size, additional packs, rare and magic monster increases. That's what I'm looking for on these affixes. Let's set up a tier 11 map just to give you an example of it. So as usual, you take a normal item here like a waystone and we turn it to a magic item using transmutation. So they gain some max life into energy shield. Not ideal, they'll be slightly slower to kill. But hey, increased magic monsters. More magic monsters, more XP. We take a regal and turn that into a rare, and now we have increased rarity of items found. That's going to be nice for killing a boss in the drops, but it's not going to make a difference for the XP. This is kind of what I see as a default, especially as you get to say tier 7, 8 and above, where you want every map you run to basically be a rare or higher. You can also use your exalteds to add another one to it. So now I've got patches of shot ground, but my waystone drop chance has gone up. Just like anything, it'll go up to 6 affixes if you want to go that hard. But don't forget, you can use your delirium resources to further enhance waystones. These distilled emotions can be used for more than just, anointing or getting a skill on an amulet. So like I said, the thing you want in your waystones the most is increased pack size, whether that's magic, rare, or pack size in general, as well as raw XP increases. So if I open up the menu by clicking on this guild, let's actually put the waystone in here instead of an amulet. And then as you put in some sort of emotion, it offers an effect. Players in the area become more and more delirious, but in this case, the pack size will increase. So more monsters, more XP. We'll explain this system more in a second. The last thing I want to mention for waystones though before we do that is obviously corrupting them. If you take a Val Orb and corrupt something, something will happen. Maybe we get more modifiers like has happened here, but you could also increase the waystone tier. So say the highest tier of a waystone is 15. You could technically corrupt it and potentially make that a tier 16, raising the level and the potential rewards and the XP. So, you know, when you reach the highest tier, which will be tier 15, you start to corrupt them all in the hopes of getting a tier 16 as well as better stuff. This is a pretty nice looking Waystone for that boss run though, since I'm getting massive Waystone drop chance, rarity as well, so the drops are going to be good. We've also got increased magic and rare monsters for XP purposes too, but we do have some dangers for stun build up, shot ground, and say they're increasing the defenses with the max life into maximum energy shield. But overall, this is actually not a bad XP Waystone. Just be wary of corrupting though, of course, because it can also backfire. It could remove modifiers. It could actually reduce a Waystone tier. It's something you do when you really reach the end at tier 15, in my opinion. But let's now talk about these delirium emotions, because this is really important and it's something that you should be doing to pretty much every Waystone that you're clearing if you really want to farm XP. So let's take this Waystone and get it going. We're going to start by transmutating it to give it some magic effects. Then we'll turn it into a rare. Rare monsters have one additional modifier. Not bad. Now, if we're going to run this, we need to also use delirium. So let's pull out all of the ones that I have currently just to show you what they have. So pulling up the menu, we put the Waystone in, and then you put some kind of effect in there. So here we've got increased magic monsters. Here we've got increased tablet drop rate. Here we've got pack size increase. What happens when you make a Waystone delirious and the player becomes delirious as you go into the map is it basically just generates the delirium effect, that kind of grey cloud, and the unique monsters that spawn when you're in a normal delirium. The difference here is that it's not like a proper one, so you're not going to be generating distilled emotions, but you can generate a different resource. The Simulacrum Splinters, which are actually for very late game purposes, are actually very good for late game trading value. Either way, here you will encounter new enemy types where rares and bosses get new attacks. And these can be helpful because while they're doing this special channel, they are vulnerable, but you may encounter special delirium bosses, which again can be great for drop potential. This is nice for XP grinding in general because, yeah, there's extra enemies and therefore extra XP. It is a difficulty increase on paper, but I find it very manageable, at least in my opinion. But let's talk about the most valuable distilled emotions you can use, starting with guilt, which is basically this like violet or purple one. You put this in and that does exactly what you want. Increased pack size, increased mob density. As you can see, it's 8% per emotion, so you can stack this up to 3 times, and that's a 24% increased pack size. This, I would argue, is the most important, most effective, cheapest way to increase the value of Waystones for XP purposes. You also get potential drops from pack size, which is nice, but if you were really thinking about that, you'd want more rares and magic enemies in particular, which you know we can do through this system. But for XP, pack size is the #1 thing. And so you'll need a lot of distilled guilt. By doing delirium regularly, getting these resources, that will help with that concept. But distilled guilt isn't exactly the most expensive thing. If you're running low on them, you can go to the currency exchange and say, hey, I want some distilled guilt. Let's say I've got some exalted orbs to trade for that. And currently, you're getting about 2 guilt per 1 exalted orb. So you should be able to run this pretty consistently. Or at very least, make sure you're doing it on the most valuable maps, as we'll talk about what a valuable map is shortly. But yeah, just so you can see it, let's look at the other ones that are also valuable. There's also Ire, so this one's going to increase the amount of magic monsters, and it does it in greater number, up to 60%, which is pretty phenomenal. The one under that will be Paranoia. This is a tier below. Generally, how I see it when you look at the Delirium tab is you have the top row, which is basically the cheapest, most common ones, then the bottom row, these are the more expensive ones. So naturally, pack size and also magic enemies, not too expensive, but when you get to the rare increaser, this is one of the more expensive ones, Paranoia. But as you can see, 15% increase per, so this can go up to 45%. Let's say you're farming other stuff than XP, well then Envy will be great because you're going to get Waystones from that, like increased Waystone drop. If we go for Disgust, that'll increase your precursor tablet drops, which are very important as we're about to discuss. With Greed, we get increased rarity of items, so if you're after Waystone rarity, higher tier, you're doing a boss map, this can be a great choice as well. But yeah, not too relevant to XP. If I want XP, I'm going guilt pretty much every time to increase the pack size, like so, and now it's instilled, as you can see. 24% increased pack size, and players in the area will be 27% delirious. As a final warning on this system, remember that if you do corrupt something, it can't really be modified anymore. So you want to do distilling of emotions before you actually do a corruption, if you are at that point where you are corrupting these items. Next, let's talk about tower stacking because it is a very important topic. Here we have a tower that I've cleared, and then what I've done is I put a tablet into it. That tablet, if you hover over nearby maps, has increased the XP gain. and also rare monsters have a 20% chance to have an additional modifier. So tablets come in different forms, but you put them into the towers. You clear a tower. Once it's done, you exit to the map, you click on the tower, and now you can modify it. It lets you put in a tablet in a menu of this nature. Precursor tablets are not too rare, but uncommon enough that they are important. And what you can do with each of them is craft on them, yeah. But you can only make them blue, so we can turn this from a normal to a blue and give it some different modifiers like increased gold found in the area. With the type of tablets that you have, this one will generate delirium, this will generate ritual. These are irradiated, which are pretty important too, as we'll talk about. But as you can see on this one, 3% increased pack size, that's the XP one, other than the literal percent one that increases XP. But we can also get magic monster increase too, and that type of thing. All you really need to worry about this is clearing a tower and then getting a tablet active, so that the maps around it are actually going to be worth more, such as 14% increased XP gain on this one in particular. But why is this one over here only getting 6% increased, but this one's getting 14%? Well, it's because there's a tower down here that's giving an aura of increased XP, and there's a tower over here that's giving an aura of increased XP. So this one's reaching this node and giving it that 6%, but it's also reaching these nodes here, and this tower is reaching those nodes as well. So these circles of effect are overlapping each other and increasing the value of these maps. So for XP purposes, these double stack maps are actually going to be very valuable to do, especially these corrupted ones, as we're about to get into. So your goal is to path smoothly through an area, trying to efficiently avoid the valuable maps, getting to the tower, activating a tablet, and then juicing up the maps around it. If you can get 2 towers juicing up the maps around it, even better. If you could get 3 in the center here, even better, so on and so on. But what about getting stacked up groups of modifiers like you're seeing me do here, with all of these bonus increases and the events on it too? Now, in my opinion, for the most value, you always aim for boss maps with the little skull symbol. Ideally, you'll run this on the highest Waystone tier you can get and with the rarity modifiers that matter. As I showed, that increases the level that you're challenging, and therefore the higher level, the more XP. And so there's 2 modifiers that influence that directly. There is corruption, which as you can see, adds +1 monster level, and there is irradiated, which also adds 1 level. The holy trinity then would be a corrupted, irradiated boss map as the base thing that you've got. Then you've got multiple towers juicing it up. Then you've got a waystone you're putting in there that's adding pack size and increasing the XP value. But what about, the special events like Breach and Delirium and so on? In my opinion, Breaches and Delirium are going to be the best for mob density and therefore XP. I would say that Breaches are probably the best because the density they offer is amazing, but it's also done very quickly, so it's like really quick time to XP gain. So therefore, I would be spamming specifically Breach tablets on my towers to generate lots of Breaches. But, right under that, I would say Delirium's right there too. And the value of Delirium can't be understated because from doing Delirium, you actually get the distilled emotion drops, which as we know, we use to improve our waystones. So both of those are very valuable, Breach and Delirium. After that, I'd rate the last 2 as much worse to do. Excavation's simple, you find it, there's some quick setup, then you're done. Though the actual rewards have not been amazing for me so far. The modifiers can also be quite dangerous on this, leading to sudden death if you accidentally counter your build without thinking about it. But on the other hand, I'd also rate rituals pretty low. Finding all 4 rituals on the map can really slow down your progress. And it also can be annoying to set up too. I don't find their density great, and they're also relatively risky to do. So as far as my priority list for events go, it's Breaches and Delirium, and then I don't think about excavation or ritual nearly as much. Now, something else you will pay attention to as you're going through these is the different biomes. So here we have some trees to indicate that this is a savanna. This one over here is instead the abyss. Over here, this map is a crypt, which I really like. There's another savanna there. This one's a steaming springs, so on and so on. Different biomes, different layouts. In my opinion, most of them are going to be pretty good, but some of them have a lot of awkward navigation and worse, backtracking that occurs. Particular offenders, in my opinion, are going to be the Val maps, like the Val Factory, where there's a lot of exploration and backtracking. Seepage, because of the tight kind of fungus cave that is. The Maya Swamp and the Foundry, these can be annoying too. Those 4, I would say, are the ones that I would avoid the most if you're trying to min-max your XP. Some maps are incredible though, like no downside, like Burial Bog or Riverside, Savannah, like I said, Oasis. The open maps where you're never forced to go back down a corridor you've already been down, that's what you're looking for. You don't have to be picky about it, do every map you wanna. If it's a relevant map with great mods and whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you have the choice, the more open maps are better, basically. Lastly, there's a couple things I want to quickly mention. One of them is the unique map. Let's see if I can find it. If I hover over the map legend, you can see it, unique map. And here it is. There are unique maps that provide different kind of perks. And this one is Untainted Paradise. 416% increased experience gain, but in exchange, there are no drops from any monster. The value of this map is all about XP, so you want to run these as soon as you see them, and I'm aiming for it now. To modify this, you'd use something like a Waystone that's going to increase mob density as much as you can, but you wouldn't worry about any modifiers related to drops, since there aren't really going to be any. As usual, if you can get these higher level as well, like higher tier Waystone, that'll be better for XP. But yeah, unique maps don't come around often, and so you want to make use of them when you spot them. The last topic should probably be the skill tree, because this is relevant to XP as well. Here's my setup as I'm progressing to tier 15 maps. If you look at the top right, you can see that's where I'm at right now as I'm recording this video. So while you're going through that journey, it's actually a different priority for me. I want to increase the percent chance for Waystones to drop as a higher tier, and I want to increase the percent chance that the quantity of Waystones are actually dropping. This is very important to reach tier 15 maps, get through this process of actually getting the points, and then stabilizing in tier 15 maps, having an infinite resource, and then pulling back on this kind of thing. So at that point, I would actually rejig my layout, more focused on XP farming long term. So on this left side, you can literally increase the rare monsters, how many there are on the map, the pack size, and magic monsters as well. So these are going to be the nodes I'm looking at for raw XP grinding after I've reached tier 15 maps. But on the way to that, you need to make sure you have enough map sustain to actually reach these higher tiers, to have them, to then get these skill points unlocked. Then we can worry about that stuff, so that's why I'm not too focused on it right now. But yeah, there you have it. That's my overview of what I'm doing and why to maximize both drops and XP generally. I hope this information helped you. Good luck with your grind. If you do have any extra tips I didn't mention today, you can drop them in the comments. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.